Welcome to the Parts of a Flower dissection. In this dissection, we are going to be talking about the different parts of a flower and labeling them on your handout. So here are the things that you need in order to do this dissection. You are going to need a flower. I recommend a lily flower. All of the parts that we're going to look at are really clear on a lily flower. You're also going to want a paper plate for you to do the dissection on. It can get a little dirty. You also will want a knife. I recommend a plastic knife for this dissection. And you will find that having the handout close by with a writing utensil will be helpful as we go through each of the parts. One other thing that might be helpful would be a hand lens if you want to take a closer look at each of the parts of a flower. If you need a moment, pause the video so that you can grab all of the things that you need. And then let's begin. The first part that we're going to take a look at are the petals. So you will notice the petals are right all around the flower. Okay, so we come up on our stem here, and at the very top of our stem is the flower, and right around are all of these maybe brightly colored leaves, but they're actually petals. Okay, so you can just peel them off there nice and gently. I'm going to peel off just a few, about 3 of them. You're welcome to peel off just 3 like I am, or maybe you peel off all of the petals. As you're peeling off your petals, let's count how many petals are on our flower. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 petals on my lily flower. How many petals is on your flower? Do you have more than I do, less, or the same? Take one of those petals that you took off your flower and just take a closer look at it. Maybe you use a hand lens to really look closely at it. Take a moment to feel that petal. What does it feel like? What do you notice? I noticed that on some of my petals, I have these like brown dots. It almost looks like it got dirty. We're going to talk about what that is in a moment. But do any of your petals have that? Or are your petals cleaner than mine? Now that we've taken a look at our petals, let's look at the next part of our flower. I'm going to peel off one of them right now. Okay. There's a part of a flower that you have on yours that looks like this. This is called the stamen. The stamen has 2 parts. It has the anther at the very top and the filament, which is what the anther is on top of. Okay, so we've got the anther, the filament, and the anther and the filament together make up the stamen. Now, the stamen is part of the male reproductive part of the flower. The flower has both the female reproductive part and the male reproductive part so that the flower can create new seeds so that more lily flowers can grow. All right, so we've got the anther here at the top, and if you take a closer look at it, maybe you even feel that anther, you may notice, kind of feels a little maybe fuzzy. How would you describe it? But you may notice as you're looking closely at it, or even as you are getting a closer feel of that there is this brown powder that is coming off of it onto your fingers, kind of like what is on the petals, at least my petals here. That powder is, do you know what that is? It's the pollen. You may have talked about pollinators, such as bees or butterflies. When they land on a flower to drink from the nectar, they collect the pollen. And as they fly from flower to flower, they're distributing that pollen to other flowers. And that helps fertilize the flower so that it can make seeds that will grow more flowers. So let's peel off the rest of our stamen. How many stamen are on your flower? You'll notice this stamen is actually missing part of it. What part is missing? The anther is missing. I just have the filament. It is missing the very top, the anther. So continue on, pulling off each of the stamen, nice and gently. How many stamen do you have on your flower? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The same amount as the petals that I had on my flowers. So we've talked about petals, stamen, which have the anther and the filament. Now let's talk about one more part. It's the only part that's left here, right? It's in the very center of the flower. I'm going to carefully peel it off my flower. There we go. This is the pistil. Now there are 3 parts to the pistil that we're going to focus on. The very top, when you're looking at the flower top down, is the stigma. So as our pollinators are flying to and from the flowers, they're picking up that pollen and they're brushing that pollen on to the stigma. And so that is helping to fertilize the flower, because then that pollen will travel down through the style into the ovary. So this pistil has the stigma, the style, and the ovary. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my knife here and I'm going to open up the pistil. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to carefully try to cut down the center line. All right. Just going to carefully try to cut down the center line so we can just kind of open it up in there. It's not that easy to do. It's a little tricky. So do your best. I'm going to get to the ovary here and I'm going to try to open that up as well. There we go. All right, so now that we've opened it up, I'm going to try to flatten it out. You might find getting out your hand lens, if you have it, is helpful. So the stigma here is kind of sticky. I don't know if you kind of see kind of the stick kind of coming off, how it's kind of sticking to that pollen there. As we open up and we head down into the ovary part. Okay, this is where the beginning of the new seed starts. And the fruit will then grow around that seed to protect it. So that way a new plant, a new flower can grow. So let's review. We have, from our lily flower, petals, pistil with the stigma, style, ovaries. This is the female reproductive part of the flower. And we have the stamen, which has the anther and the filament. If you're filling out that recording sheet, take a moment to make sure that you label each of these parts of the flower. Thanks for joining me for the parts of the flower dissection. Have a great day.